everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. I will be reading your questions that you've asked me on my Instagram profile, spelled all together, Super Dacob. And if you have any other questions, you could go there and ask more or leave them in the comment section down below. So let's get right to it, shall we? First question is by Parasol You Need. Parasol You Need, how you doing, sweetie? Hi, Super D. In your recent video, when you were reading the letter that was written to me by one of my subscribers about Coco Chanel, there was something about the chain that Chanel added to the bags instead of leather, so the stripe wouldn't be cut by a thief, if I understood well. Nothing linked to the nuns, apparently. And with leather, it is called a comfort chain? No, it's called a comfort strap. Could be interesting to develop this and see how Chanel influenced bag designs with all her creative and practical solutions to common issues that women were facing. Most of the brands use nowadays a chain as well. Okay, let's see, how do we approach this issue? Okay, so there's a lot of theories on Chanel. You know, a lot of truth, a lot of falsities, a lot of different stories, myths, but we could say this. And don't take my word for it, because when we talk Chanel, it's very watery territory. One of the reasons why she was feuding a lot with the Wertheimer family, most of her career after selling basically her fragrances to them, was because she underestimated, it was her mistake, she underestimated the power of her perfumes. So she only asked for like, what was it, 2 to 10% revenue on her fragrances, and Wertheimer said, yeah, sure, let's go for it. And then like then number 5 skyrocketed, and she, you know, because fragrances back then were a little bit like perfumes from VIPs today, you know, Britney Spears perfume and stuff like that, Naomi Campbell perfume, you know. The actors and actresses' fragrances are like nothing special. They have their 5 minutes of glory and then they're gone. Similar was going on with designer or fashion or couturier fragrances back in the day. So she thought nothing of it, really. She thought it's, you know, she was focused, she thought all of her money was gonna forever come through her fashion. So she thought a perfume would be, you know, a quick thing on the side. And so she did launch number 5. She did, you know, Ernest Beau created it, but she did, with Ernest Beau, kind of choose which one to use. And she did do something very interesting, because, you know, when fragrances used to be produced with kind of cheaper ingredients, oddly enough, they're doing it today again, because more precious ingredients were very expensive. She asked Ernest Beau, okay, so jasmine, how much is jasmine? He's like, jasmine is very expensive. She's like, good, triple it, quadruple it. I want more jasmine in there. She wanted an expensive perfume, but it wasn't really very lasting. So he added the aldehydes, and that created the magic as far as number 5 is concerned. So already before the Wertheimers kind of pitched in, she started selling number 5 on her own, and I don't understand why she didn't figure it out, because it was a bestseller, it was a hit immediately, and they couldn't really produce enough. As much demand was there. So she went to the Wertheimers because they had more fields, more access to ingredients and this and that, and cheaper ingredients as well. So in fact, number 5, right after the first release, it had over 180 ingredients. It was reformulated down to 80-something ingredients, because it was already too expensive and too difficult to produce. So you could imagine already in the 20s a reformulation. Guess how many we've been through till now, 2017. But I digress. So she, you know, asked them, and then, you know, they struck a deal, and then they started producing perfumes for her, well, for themselves with her name, and earning most of the money. And she was really angry about that once she woke up from her daydream, and she thought to herself, what was I thinking to give them all that, you know, power? And then she was fighting all her life to get it back. And a similar mistake, and this is my theory only, she made with bags. And you see, fragrances is one thing, but Chanel really loved creating clothes, dresses, jackets, skirts, you know, The couture aspect of Chanel is what Chanel loved the most. So in 1955, after her comeback, when she created the 255 bag, she was thinking practically. She was a very practical woman, and she wanted simplicity and elegance, and she created a practical, simple bag. And that's it. That's why we don't have many Chanel bags out there that are iconic, because we see her wear, after 1955, other bags as well, not just the 255 bag, but the 255 bag was the bag, was the one that she launched, gave it the special importance of being launched in February of 1955, and that's it. She already created all she could create as far as practicality. That bag was so amazing and beautiful, and still to date it's just the perfect bag, that there was nothing really to add to it. So she let it be. Same thing with costume jewelry. You know, in the beginning, costume jewelry, most of costume jewelry was, you purchase a tailleur, you purchase a jacket and a skirt and a shirt, and the actual brooch was already attached to the outfit. It was part of the couture piece you purchased. Only later on, did she start producing them as separates. And in the beginning, not even really with a logo. It's more the Wertheimers that figured out, wait a minute, we got to profit from this as well. So let's really label every piece of costume jewelry, with the Chanel branding and the date or the number of the collection that it has been produced in, like to create even more of a buzz, to create even more of collectability about it. But Coco was really a very, she was a handy person. It was all in her hands. She would hand create over 150 garments, pieces, 150 total looks for every season. I mean, back then there were 2 seasons basically. There was more, but the big 2 seasons, the big 2 collections of the year. So over 300 pieces a year, this woman would be creating, literally standing on her feet over 10 hours a day, trimming, cutting, being on her knees, up, down, all the time. That was her focus till her dying day. So accessories for her, as beautiful as they were, bags as well, she didn't really give them the right importance that they have today. You enter a Chanel boutique today, the first thing you see is the accessory section. Then you walk through the accessory section, and then you get to the apparel, because they know what sells the most. Nothing about the nuns in the chain. Well, maybe there still is something that has to do with the nuns in the chain. Not as far as the metal is concerned, but perhaps there is a hint in the ornaments that the middle link of the chain very shyly shows us. I'm going to leave it at that. Common issues. Could be interesting to develop this further. Designs with all the creative. So Chanel influenced bag designs with all her creative and practical solutions to common issues that women were facing. Most of the brands use nowadays a chain as well. Yes, people copy her. Everybody copied her. I mean, when Dior came out with a new look, she hated it. She said Dior, just upholsters women just like they're a piece of furniture, because the new look for her was just going back to corsets. It had a whole bone structure inside. It morphed the physique of the woman. It didn't give her liberty of movement, and Chanel hated that. And when she had her comeback, and France snobbed her, and Europe snobbed her, but then America gave her the triumphant okay, and you can go, Missy. And then the world had to kind of follow, because America did win the war, and whatever America did was law. So France did accept her, and all of a sudden, even if France was not praising her, they started praising her because America was praising her. She was pushing the simple, comfortable look. Again, Chanel is very practical. So guess what happened? Mr. Dior started copying her. So the new look and the euphoria of the new look had to pass by, faded as well, because then he started creating suits that looked like her stuff, because that's what wins. At the end of the day, what is practical always triumphs. She was so clever. She had a shrewd, innate instinct of adding to practicality elegance and beauty. And that is a rare thing. It's very rare. Usually practical things are pretty ugly. But her practical things were beyond beautiful. You got to be born with that. You can't learn that. That's very fascinating. And a lot of people copy the chain. You know, nowadays I don't see people cutting bag straps while you're waiting to cross the street or whatever. Most people are in cars. If they're gonna steal something, it's while you're waiting for the light to turn green. They're gonna break in your window and get the bag, snatch the bag that's next to you while you're driving the. I mean, like, you know, worst case scenario. Well, there's even worse than that. But so chain straps nowadays is not like they're gonna help you much when you're out and about if you're in a car most of the time. But I just love the fact that they're so hefty. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, next question. Desanka007. How you doing, sweetie? Dear Dacob, you're very fortunate that your family and friends accept your love for Chanel and have gifted you the Chanel reissue for your recent birthday. Congratulations, by the way. I have 2 questions for you. 1, have you ever experienced judgment by anyone for your exclusive but also expensive taste for designer goods? And 2, why don't you buy secondhand Chanel bags? Thank you so much and have a great day, night. Thank you, Desanka, for the question. Well, I already told you on Instagram, but I'm going to say to everybody, just in case somebody thinks that I never bought secondhand Chanel. Look at this. This is my most prized possession as far as vintage Chanel is concerned. I adore this bag. This is from 1999. It is secondhand and it is vintage. Well, almost vintage. It'll be vintage in 2 years because then it reaches its 20th birthday. It's in suede. It's the softest suede I've ever touched in my life. This is the Millennium bag, the so-called Millennium bag, the Millennium 2005 bag, even if it was released in 1999 with a huge Chanel logo on the side here. I made several videos on this bag. I made the reveal after I purchased it from a secondhand website, and I made a review video. I used it in several photo shoots of mine, editorially speaking, and it's just... I love this bag so much. I also purchased secondhand vintage or soft vintage Chanel accessories as well as clothing. So as far as that is concerned, Chanel is definitely very present in my collection in terms of vintage and secondhand. The first question, have you ever experienced judgment by anyone for your exclusive but also expensive taste for designer goods? Yes. And you know, and the saddest thing is, depending on the type of jobs I used to have, colleagues would be very jealous. You know, they would be like, how can you afford that? Or like, is that fake? And knowing very well that they know I always talk about it. I brainwash everybody into never buying replicas. Because I can't, you know. I'd rather don't buy anything than buying a fake, because I don't want to finance that sort of attitude, you know, and illegality. But yes, I have been judged. Never by family. My family really loves me, and they understood my passion for it because they know me for who I really am, and they understand the love that I have for the work that goes into creating certain pieces, designing certain pieces, you know. But on the street, people look usually, they don't judge me because I have an expensive bag, because I kind of manage to style things in a way that they look very natural. I don't show off things, you know, and that's a big difference between me and most other people. I don't have a Chanel bag to show it off. I have a Chanel bag to treasure it. So I make it such a part of me, and you could see me wearing it in some of my Instagram pictures. You could check it out on my Instagram profile, Super Dacob, all spelled together. I pair it with all sorts of outfits. It's not like I make it all about the Chanel bag, you know. The Chanel bag is part of an outfit, and it's a part of my life. And I love my 255 bag. I love it 2 pieces, especially the small one, the original size, Coco's original size. I mean, I do wear mostly the bigger one because it's kind of more proportionate to me, but the little one just has such a special place in my heart. It's literally next to my bed. I sleep next to it. Like, that's how much I love it. And nobody sees me when I have, you know, on my bedside table Chanel perfume and a Chanel bag on it. You know what I mean? That's not showing off, but that's my life. That's my passion. And whoever judges me, you know, the looks that they kind of give me on the street, if they don't know me, is like, well, I don't know, if I'm wearing this, for example, like a chain top from Jeremy Scott with a teddy bear shirt. Of course, that they react more to that in terms of something that's out of the ordinary, but not necessarily expensive or not expensive looking. They react more to that rather than to me having a Chanel bag. But quite frankly, to be perfectly honest with you, it's quite the opposite. Um, People all of a sudden think you're who knows what. If you enter a space where people know how to recognize, granted, because you got to meet the right people. You got to meet the people that know how to recognize a Chanel bag for what it is. Doors open, all of a sudden, if I would be dressed like this, like this is too special. Again, people are going to think, okay, I'm from the fashion world or I'm crazy, either or. Well, fashion world is crazy, so it's one and the same. But if I were to be wearing just some simple black t-shirt and black pants and a hoodie, or a black cap, and I would enter into a more refined store, people would look at me, they would think, I look suspicious, I might want to steal something. But if I would have the same exact clothes on with a Chanel bag on top, all of a sudden you see the suspicions are not there anymore. It's crazy how something like an accessory that is so rooted into culture and into what it represents and what people think it represents, how much it influences the opinion of people. In good and in bad ways, So again, entering the right stores. If you enter a McDonald's where nobody cares, nobody recognizes what it is anyway. So it's not like it's generally speaking something people always react to. People in the places where a certain bag like that can be recognized, they react to it. Yes, they do. In other places, they don't. They might think it's a bit freaky that a guy is wearing a bag on a chain, but even that, they let it go because the quilting shape, the structure, it's very square, it's very rectangular, it's very androgynous. I mean, male when a man wears it and female when a woman wears it. And that is beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about this bag in general. And my love for luxury in general, I would say, I don't care if it's new or if it's used as much as the shape and the work that went into it really resonate with me. So I have some luxury pieces that I bought secondhand for literally $10, and then I have some new pieces which cost really a lot. But I love them the same, nevertheless. And again, when ex-colleagues from work or whatever, ex-jobs, it's usually from jobs that I had left because I didn't like the attitude of a lot of people, amongst other things, but I digress. Usually, I just say, well, everybody has their own priorities. Most of the people I know smoke, spend most of their money smoking or drinking themselves to oblivion on the weekends. I don't do that. I save a lot of money that way. I just don't like to, I drink very rarely, and when I do, I'm very, very controlled because I don't like losing control. It doesn't give me any pleasure sinking myself into oblivion. I mean, I don't know. I think life is too short for that. And as far as smoking is concerned, I don't like to smoke. I don't like the taste of it. There's a very, very rare, like twice a year, because it's not like I've never tried things in my life. I've tried smoking, and there's like maybe 2 times a year when I'm in that mood for that particular aftertaste in the mouth of a smoke, of kind of, not nicotine, but just of the smokiness of something. And then I would go for a cigarette once a year or twice. Just, it's a mood rather than a taste. And then I hate the taste. And I'm like, why did I do this? But I just wanted the mood. So a lot of money is saved there. And I set my priorities. I'm very, very straight with my priorities. And I don't spend money everywhere. I know exactly what I want. And I wait until I'm ready or until I have enough money to get it. And I don't, while I'm waiting for something, start purchasing other 50 things around it. I'm not that type of person. I'm very, very, very focused. And I think being focused is essential if you're not a billionaire in order to obtain certain things in life, whether it be whatever goal you set for yourself, a car or this or that. For example, I hate cars. I really, not that I hate, I don't dream about cars. I couldn't care less about them. So it was never on my agenda to get a car. I really could not care less. And I think the less cars are out there and the more we're preserving the environment. So wherever I can and when I can, I do prefer using public transportation because, you could fit in 100 people in one bus and that occupies a smaller amount of space than if you had 100 cars, if every person were driving their own car. Could you imagine 100 cars on a highway or just one bus with 100 people in it? I prefer the bus with 100 people in it and every person having a Chanel bag, rather than 100 people, none of them having a Chanel bag, because each one of those 100 people purchased a car. Catch my gist? And the more people take public transportation, and the more public transportation expands and has more routes, so you could and it gets more interconnected, so it's easier also to get from work, home work, to school, stuff like that. So this is a beautiful sentiment, I think, to end the video with, because it's very poetic. It's a poetical vision, envisioning 100 people in a bus having a Chanel bag, but none of them having a car, because it was their choice to buy a Chanel bag instead of buying a car. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you like this video. If you have, please thumb it up. If you haven't already but do wish to, please consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Never give up on love. Love you. See you soon. Take care. Bye.